Hi everyone, my name's Lou Sims, and I thought today what we'd do is make some lovely quick easy cards using my latest stamp set called Sur-Round under the Shady Designs banner for Dolly Dimples. If you don't know why Shady Designs, I have explained it in previous videos and I'll put links below. Now, this stamp set, which is called Sur-Round, was designed to give you quick multi-layered backgrounds without much effort at all, and so it gives you all that look that you've done lots of stamping, lots of masking, but you haven't. So we're going to use this stamp set, and we're going to use it with distresses, with oxides, with some archivals, so we can go from more subtle colours to more bold and bright colours. Now I'm working on a 7x5 because that just seems to be my new thing at the moment. I've migrated from square cards to 7x5. I don't know why, but I have. So what I want to do is create some quick designs for you all, and take it from there. So let's get started. Okay, I said let's get started, then I thought I better explain a little bit. Now on the Sur-Round stamp, you've got this portion here which I saw as a tag or a place to put your sentiment, but remember the stamp set can rotate, so it can be that way round, it could be that way round, it could be that way round, or it could be that way round, and you've got all the background detail in there. You could stamp as is and just layer with a few details, or you've got lots of areas to colour if that's what you wanted to do. I just wanted to quickly chip in with that bit, so I am now going to really get started and get going. Right, I've put mine in my stamp block, and the reason for that is I want to use a mixture of different colours, and I just want to decide which way I'd like it to go this time round. And I'm going to use portions of it to create a background, and I want to use lots of different colours. So I'm just going to put it in my stamp platform and just fill up that portion there, because as I said, the idea is to create multi-layered backgrounds quickly and effectively with just one stamp. So let's just get that on the block, and let's just then pick the colours I'd like to use. I'm going to go for quite a tropically sort of look, so I'm going for as I said, I am going for distress inks. I'm using my smaller pads, not for any other reason other than they're easier just, to do this sort of technique with rather than big ones. So I said I'm going for quite a limited colour palette. So let's just move you out the way. I'm going to start with the lighter colour first, only because then it saves me having to worry about cleaning it. So here we go. And I'm just, as you can see, it'll be very, very subtle. I'm just picking up some of the detail with lots of different of the colours. And building it up little by little. And this way, I just find if I do it in the stamp platform, I can then see where there's gaps missing, and I can add extra little bits of detail here and there. Now, even though I've started with the lighter colour, it doesn't matter if, I'm just getting rid of some excess ink there. It doesn't matter because I've got it in the stamp block, because I can go back over. So let's just want to add a little bit more of the yellow, just in different places. So I've got that pattern building like that, with that going quite easily. And what I want to do is rotate my card, and I want to do exactly the same again, but this time around I just want to work out where I want to put it and which way round I want it to go. So I want it to go that way round. I'm just going to pull my card in place and just stick my magnets down. There we go. And I'm just going to do exactly the same as I did before. Now my stamp has got a slight bulge in it, and that's just where it's not set down flat. So with larger stamps, do roll them into place so you don't get the bulge of the stamp sticking up. That's where you'll find that your ink gathers if it's not perfectly flat onto your actual card. Right, so let's just do a little bit of the orange in places. And I'm just going to bring in finally a little bit of the picked raspberry in places as well. And then I can see if there's any other areas I just want to add a bit more colour to. I'm just going to do, let me have a think. Yeah, let's do a little bit more of the yellow. Because the yellow is just acting as a way of toning down the other colours if I don't want them to be that bright. So we've got the background going very quickly and simply, just using those three colours. So I'm just going to put my stamp away. I will clean it in a moment. And we've got that as our background. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to ink around some of the edges using the colours we've got there. So I'm just going to grab my blending mat and a blending tool, and I'll be right back. Right, so I've got my blending mat, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to ink. Now, I'm inking around the edges. Because this is a distress ink, I could spritz this and go for a more watered look. But I'm just going to go for a little bit more of a subtle look. And I'm just going to blend a little bit around the edges using the colours that, you know, that I initially used to create my backgrounds. So this is the mustard seed. I'm just adding in places. And just adding that there. Let's grab the carved pumpkin. Shall we do next? Yeah, let's grab the carved pumpkin next. Sorry if I sound like I'm dithering it, but that's my normal creative process. I would sit here and go, what should we do next? So I just want to bring in a little bit of the carved pumpkin. And just a little bit there. Oh, sorry, move the mat. Now, I'm not worried if my blending is not seamless. If you are, start off on your mat and work onto your work. You know, go with the way that you like to do your blending techniques. So I could go on the mat here and then bring a little bit of colour in. I quite like sometimes when it's splotchy or big lumps of the colour, because it looks a little bit natural, a little bit more homegrown, as it were. Right, so I'm just going to put a little bit darker where I've got the picked raspberry in those corners. Go over from there. So I'm just going to put those away. Right, I'll just move those out of the way. So now very quickly, we're just using three colours and a little bit of the, you know, going around the edges there. We've created a quick background straight away. Now to just to add some extra decoration on there. So I'm just going to grab some other card and I'll be back with you in 2 seconds. Right, I've grabbed some of the smaller elements which are from the Sur-Round stamp set, and these are the circle designs. I have a video out showing how I use some of these to create mandalas, and again I'll link below. And what I want to do is I want to create a focal image. I've got my blending tool in the way, so I'm just going to use, and I'm going to stick to the same colours that I did before, which is the picked raspberry, the carved pumpkin, and the mustard seed. Now I'm going to stamp this twice to show you 2 different ways to do it. So I've got that one stamped there, and I'm going to do another one at the next to it just to show you what I mean. So we've got this larger circle, so you can cut this out inside and out with an electronic machine. Obviously don't save the images in the machine, but you can use it to cut it out to create like a border, or we can use it like that. I'm using the Be Crafty square shims because they're just perfect for me in this role. So what I'm going to do is, this is now going down a size in the circle, and this is using the carved pumpkin. So I'm just going to stamp that one there. Oops, escapee card. So I'm just double checking that it fit within the camera. And then what you could do is we could just stamp in here. So if you didn't want to create layered embellishments in one go, you could stamp with inside each other. And I just wanted to show you both those ways. And then finally the little one is I'm going to use the mustard seed on. So I'm just going to put that one there. And the yellow is going to be the slightly trickier one to show up. I appreciate that. And then I've got this one here. Okay, so you could carry on, and we're going to colour both these just to show you how it works along those lines. What I do want to grab though from the same set is a little set of leaves that you get there, and I'm going to use my favourite, got to be one of my favourite, is either bundle sage or it's got to be peeled paint. I'm going to go for bundle sage this time. So I'm just going to stamp because I want a couple of leaves. I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to cut some of it out, and I'm going to also show you how you could layer it up as well. So it's very, very faint, the bundle sage on there. I'll lift it up so you can see what I've done so far. But what you could do here is, if I always make myself masks. It's a great way to make a start with a stamp set. It's also a great way, you know, when you start testing your stamps straight away. So I'm just going to put a few of the leaf design just around here as if it was like a flower. We've got those going there, and we will colour them up. So I've got that there, and I can take the mask away, and I've got those now sitting behind as if they were like a flower. So now we're just going to colour it all up and layer it onto our card. So I'll grab a paintbrush and I'll be with you in 2 secs. I keep saying that, don't I? I'll grab and I'll be with. But I am going to. See you in a minute. Right, I've just grabbed my paintbrush and just grabbing some water. Now, colouring can be the longest part sometimes when you're doing a design. But that depends, you know, how particular you want to be. So I'm just grabbing the pink raspberry and I'm just adding a little bit of water. I'm using it on my stamp block here. And I'm just going to colour in. Now, I could pull out the ink, because being a distress, I could pull out, if I wanted a softer look, you know, from the actual stamp design itself. I could emboss it with some clear embossing powder and keep the intensity. So all I want to do is just go around the edges, add a little bit more water in places. So some are lighter, some are slightly darker. And if I'm doing quick cards, I will watercolour 9 times out of 10 more than I will actually use alcohol pens or pencils. So I'm just adding a little bit of dark in different places. I'm just going to let the water now do its stuff. Now, regarding the triangles, I'm leaving them at the moment because I might pick up some of the other colours that we've got. So whilst I've still got a little bit of ink on here, I'm going to show you that this design you can do exactly the same way. So if you didn't want something to be multi-layered, you could just stamp all the different colours. Now, if you didn't want to stamp in coloured ink, you could easily do this in black ink or a darker ink edging. I'm not worried if the colour bleeds into one another, because I think that will just give me bonus shading for free. That's how I treat it. So I'm just going around. Now, you could add more depth of colour, which I probably will do in a minute. I'm just going to lay down the base of the colour at the moment. So there we go. So let's turn that round. I'm just going to add a little bit of colour back on. And we'll just pick up a little bit more. So now I can now start adding some darker areas in places. I'm going to be honest and say I'm not one for saying the light is coming from here, therefore it should be darker. I do go with what I like. I just find that helps me with colouring. I know we're all different, but that's just what I find helps me. I'm just going to blend that out just a little. Go around there a little bit darker in places. And as I said, if it bleeds into the colour below, I'm not bothered. So there we go. Just going to add a little bit of dark in places on here. And I'm just going to let the water do what it wants to do. There we go. So that is like my first layer with the picked raspberry. Let's just give this a quick wipe. I'm going to use the same block. And next I'm just going to get the carved pumpkin. And put that out. Now this I'm using distress inks, but if you've got dye-based inks, you could use any of those to do this sort of same technique as well. And there's lots of different dye-based inks out there on the market. Right, so sorry if this is moving around, but I just find it easier to move my project than to try you know, keep it all in one place. So I'm hoping I'm within the camera, because I've zoomed the camera down today. Sorry, I was just having a quick nose just to check, just so you could see what I was doing. I'm going to do exactly the same here. I'm going to colour now this in the orange, and I'm not worried if it bleeds into the picked raspberry colour or even the yellow into the centre. So I quite like actually leaving the bits that are white. And I'm just going to use up the ink and just do some little darker areas in places. I'm just going to add a little bit more water just to blend them out a little bit. And the same here. In essence, all I'm doing is using up the ink that's on there rather than keep wiping it away. Right, so we've got that going. Clean my paintbrush. Right, I'm just going to clean this again, and then we'll do the same with the mustard seed. So I'm just going to pick up a bit of colour. So we've got that one, and I'm just going to go quite solid with the mustard seed here. And do the same here. Now, because I'm going with the mustard seed onto the carved pumpkin, I'm going to blend this edge just a little bit more out, so it looks like it's in the centre and goes into the carved pumpkin just a little bit more, as you can see. And I'm saying I quite like it, but I might actually just drop a little bit of the yellow into those diamond shapes and blend them out just a little. So the colours now are going into the picked raspberry. So it looks like now it's one whole flower design. As for these, I'm not sure what colours I'm going to do these. And this will probably be when I layer it up, I'll work out what colours I want to do with the triangle. But with this one, I've got a little bit more of an idea. I'm just going to put a little bit now of the carved pumpkin, because I quite like the idea of the carved pumpkin going in and just blending out some of the colour. And I'll do that with a little bit of water in a minute. And I'm not being overly precious with my colouring. I'm just laying it down as quickly as I want to lay it down. There we go. So we've got that going like that. All right, let's just blend that out. So I'm just blending out now where I put the orange colour around the edge. I'm just blending it into the picked raspberry a little bit more. All right, there we go. Just clean my block. As technically as that, and then bring in the bundled sage. I think this one is an old ink pad. Right, so I'm just going to colour up the leaves with the bundled sage. And they're quite open shapes, and that was done deliberately to make, if you wanted to colour, the colouring didn't have to be overly precise. As you can see, I'm not trying to make this overly precise. I want the watercolour loose effect with the colouring. So I'm just going to colour these ones in here. Now I might bring in a little bit of extra colour with these so that they're slightly darker in places, but we'll see. And as I said, I'm just going for the loose colour effect because it is watercolour. Now I've left the centre there deliberately clear because why waste ink when I'm going to layer things on, as you can see by this one. Right, so I've just picked up a little bit of the darker and I just want to put a little bit of the darker down the bottom. And it's not about preciseness. It's just, I'm just letting the water and the ink do its thing and disperse how it wants to disperse. I'm not trying to overly control it, as it were. Right, so let's just move my paintbrush out of the way. I'm just going to give it a quick clean. And I'll just clean my block so I know that's done. Right, so what we've got very quickly is our different types of flowers. So I've stamped that one, as you can see, one inside the other, if you wanted to do a flat layer. Now, you don't have to have the leaves around it. And these ones I've actually done separately, and I've stamped these out separately. Now, I need to let these dry because I want to cut them out, and they're going to sit on top of the flower there. Okay, so I just do need to let these dry, and I will go away, let them dry naturally. I prefer to do that rather than heat gun them. So it won't take long, and then I'm going to go and cut them out, and I'll be back and we'll make this into a card. Right, I'm back, and I've just cut out all the different elements. As I said, I let them dry. I like to leave them to dry naturally rather than force them. So what I want to do is now look about what we can do to create the card. So we've done a really quite simple background. So now this is my card base. As I said, I'm going for a 7x5, and I want to keep the white edge around as well. Now, we've got, because of the way the stamp is designed, we've got lots of different ways we can look at this. So if we wanted to keep it flat, I could actually just have my little floral element on there and a sentiment up there. I could rotate it round and it could be there with my sentiment here. So I'm just going to keep rotating, so it could change again. And this time round I could have it up here and the sentiment down there. And that is where the stamps come into their own. It gives you an idea of all the different ways you can use it very quickly and simply. Right, so I'm not going to use that one because I want to use a layer design, but I will keep this and put it in my bit box. I've got to say huge kudos to Julia McNeil, who started off the bit box craze for me. Right, so I've got these elements here, and what I want to do is I will put 3D foam pads, and I want to layer them up, and that's going to be my flower element. And then I've got the leaves that are just sitting here and will go round. So these will go on 3D foam pads, and I'll add a little bit more, and then I'll have my sentiment here. I could technically have them, you know, if I coloured all of that in, I could suddenly have a few more like little flowers going around and about, or I could have separate circles, you know, if that's what I wanted to do. They don't have to be like a floral element. They could be just architectural elements in their own right with a sentiment on. So you could make it quite bright and funky. So that's what I want to do with that. Now, what I do want to do is I just want to add another contrast of colour in here. And I'm going to, I'm not sure whether I'm going to go for black soot distressing to keep the distress vibe going, or I'm going to go for an archival. It's one of those you go, I think I'm going to go for a black normal archival ink. So I'm just going to grab my ink pad. So I couldn't make my mind up. So I'm just going to grab my inks for now. I'll just grab an archival. I could go for like a colour, but I fancy a little bit, something a little bit darker on here. I'm just going to move my card blank out of the way as well. And in the Sur-Round set, we get lots of little smaller stamps that we can add a little bit of detail to. And what I want to do is I just want to work out where I'm going to put my main element and layer it up. Okay, so I can put it there. Now, if you can't visualize that, sometimes the easiest thing to do is if I'm going to stamp this in black. Now, probably if I wasn't doing this for video, I would probably stamp this in a light grey, so it hardly showed up at all. Now I want to, this is where I think I'm going to put my main element. So I'm just going to stamp it here. And this just gives me a visual point of where I'm working from, as you can see there. So then when I stick this down, I know that's going to be where I'm working from. So I'm just going to be really good and clean the black off there, just in case I want to use it again. Now, like I said before, we've got some little extra touches of that we can add to the stamp. Now, I'm going to do them in black because I think it'd be nice to have a little bit of a contrast. And because this is my holding place, it doesn't matter if I go inside it, because it's going to be covered up by my other stamp, if that makes sense. And I'm just going to add some down here. And don't worry if the images aren't crisp either, that's perfectly okay, because it's just adding a little bit of the extra detail. So I've got that going on there, so you can see it's just elongating the design just a little bit for me. So when I layer everything else up, it's just giving me something else. The black now is making my eyes go towards like my flower design. So I am going to put one or two at the top here. And I think I'm going to keep the, you know, the linear look to it. And we'll just add them there. So now all of a sudden, I've now quickly got a different area. So when you look at our card base here, this so far has been 2 stamps. So, well, I know, forget the outline stamp here for the moment, but it's been the 2 background and then the dots. Because the outline, we're just using it as somewhere to place our eye. And then we've obviously just brought in the circles as our added decoration. But for the whole background in itself, we've only used really 2 stamps to create that look. Now, I'm going to put that away. Now we have got, as you can see here, a lovely little circle one. And I'm going to grab in the flower again. And what I want to do is, I'm not going to do it in black, but I think I might, then again, I might not actually. I was thinking I might add some green around it, but we'll leave that for the moment. We'll see how that goes. Right, we're going to put that there. Now, in the same stamps, well, not in that one, but we have got some other border stamps. Sorry, I've gone off camera just to find where they are. I'm being really good, and I keep mine in a similar location. Right, it's on the painted mixing stamp set. We get little border stamps like this one, and we've got another little one that looks like that. If I grab the acetate, it'll probably be easier. Right, look, I've got blocks absolutely everywhere. If you bear with me, I'm looking for the acetate. There we go. Wrong stamp set that I was going to get out there. Right, so on the painted mixings one, plain card, we've got like borders, and we've got another border there. So I think I'm actually going to start using some of the borders just to frame this off just a little. And because I've gone for the dots, I think I'm going to go with the dots. And I think, I'm not sure whether, so now I'm deciding whether I want to have a black outline or more of a coloured outline. And I think I'm going to go for more of a coloured outline just around this corner. So where I've got the orange here, I'm just going to put this in. Now you could easily, can you see, I'm just going to put this along here. You could easily do this in black. If you didn't want to use the borders, you could easily do this with a micron pen. But I'm just elongating that a little bit. And so I've got that now little border going up here. And what I'm going to do is change the colour, because I've got a little bit of the pick raspberry going on here. And I'm just going to turn this round. Now we've got all this going, you can see the bits and extra bits and pieces here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to elongate down the side of the stamp there. So now I've just tagged it onto the design there of the stamp. So now it looks like I've got a border going all the way round. And I'm just going to do a little bit of it on here as well. And I'm not going to join it here. I'm just going to do it so it's just a tiny little bit going round. Right, sorry, I'm just going to have to move this so I can see what I'm doing. And it's going across there. Now, I can't make my mind up whether we need to go across the top or not. No, I'm going to leave it like that for the moment. Right, let's just clean you off. So as you can see, you can build up from using the other, you can bring in the other stamp sets as well. Now, if you wanted it to be a bigger contrast, we could have done that as well in the black if you wanted to show it off a little bit differently. So have a think about what works for you along those lines. Right, let's start sticking this together. And this to me is my favourite. Sorry, I'm putting stamps back because I'm dreadful for losing them or putting them. I'm trying to be good, sorry. Oh, I've gone off camera, I do apologise. I'm trying to be good and keeping them in their families, but that doesn't always work. Right, so we've got this here, and I've just put my card blank down somewhere. So if you give me 2 seconds, I will go and find my card blank. Right, let's do the card blank. So I'm going to stick this on so it sits here, and this is going to be the corner. I'm just working out where I'm going to hinge it, and grab some glue. Now, even though I've done mine going sideways, so I'm wrestling with my glue, I could still have mine. This still now gives me options, because where I put the black in, of having this flower or this design at the top and the sentiment down the bottom. So you've still got the designer options in place that you want to use. So I'm just going to put some glue on. And just slide that into place. One of the benefits for me of wet glue is that it gives you the chance to actually do that. Right, just put the lid on the glue. Right, so we've got that going along there. And I'm just going to grab some 3D foam pads. And I want to layer these ones up. Okay, I'm using very small pads only because I've got them and I desperately want to use them up. I ordered them in the wrong size, but hey ho. So apologies if this seems to take forever, but I am determined to use these up. So I think I might need to go and get my tweezers out, we'll see. Here we go. Right, so we've got that there. And because I've got this as the holding, now I can sit here and try and work out where everything went and make sure it matches. I'm not really that bothered if some of the black shows through, because it'll act like a free shadow for me. Right, just move those out of the way. I'm just going to have to stick that bit down because I haven't pushed that bit down enough. And that will bug me. So here we go. I said determined to use these, so I apologise. I've also got very short thumbnails for the first time in ages. I had an accident. Put wrestling a tyre in the boot of the car. Long story. All right, there we go. And that can go there. And then the final one, I'm just going to put on one. So I've layered these up. As I said, you could just stick them down flat on top of each other, but I just fancied a little bit of dimension. And let's put it down around about there a little bit. And then I've got the leaves that we stamped out, and I can now add these in different places. That's too much glue on there. So I'm just going to stick them up like that. Add that one there. Put a little bit more glue. So I'm chatting away merrily to myself. Right, so we've got those now sitting there like that. So if I lift it up a little bit, you can see. So we've got those elements, just the small elements there, drawing our eye, you know, into the actual card. Right, let me just get rid of these little bits here. I don't stick them down. So now I have gone ahead. Oh, look, I found a stamp block. Sorry. These are leftover bits that I've got, you know, from previous projects. And this is, like I said, my little bit box. And this will add in there. You can see I've got other ones already coloured up for different projects that I was doing. Anyhow, I have... Now, these are the sentiments that you get from the paper kit. I'll link to it below. And then they're designed, you know, that they can fit inside this part of your stamp set. There are longer ones in the kit, so your love is always spoken here, and I could put another one there. We've got, let's grab a few. I mean, this is more of a journal page one. Don't let others' insecurities tear you down. Be the person who builds friendships. So we've got journaly ones, as well as, you know, birthday or celebration ones. Find joy in today, because that could sit in there, and I could do another flower up there if I wanted to. But what I'm going to do is I grab this one. Let's have a look. We've got small steps equals big moments, so I could ink around the edge of that, and that can sit there. I've got the, because you get two versions, one with the black background, one with the white background, so I could still do that way. We've got this one, you are special to me. So there's lots in that paper kit for different designs. So I'm just going to, I think we're going to go for this one. And it's a good day to be happy. And I'm going to put that there, because then it ties in with the little black elements of stamping that we've done. We've got that there. And we'll just let that stick down. As you can see, so we've got those little bits there. And then what I just want to do is, as my finishing touch, my secret bling, or one of my secret blings, is sequins. Let's just move you. And I thought we could have one or two sequins in there, and I'll grab my picky uppy tool thing and some glue. So I just want to put one or two just to add. I don't know why. It's probably, people are probably shouting at the screen now saying you don't need them, you don't need them, it's overkill, but I do just like the sequins. They just add a little bit of something, for me anyhow. I don't know why, like I said, but they do. Right, so let's go and grab one or two. So these are Nouveau sequins, and they come at, whether, I don't know whether Tonic still do them, but they did a set that came in 3 different sizes. So you got a large, a medium, and a small. And for me, that was just perfect for these sort of projects. So I'm just going to do some, just going up this side here, and then that will be it, she says. Now, I've got to be honest and say, faffing is my favourite time of making a card project. It's probably when I spend far too much time doing things that really don't need to be done, but it is, to me, it's the favourite part for me. And I think it's the consolidation of all your ideas suddenly comes to play. And that's probably why I enjoy the faffing part just that little bit more. Right, let's just do one more. That's going to go up there. And we'll just do one more. We're going to go there. We could add some on this side, but I'm not going to, otherwise I could be sitting here adding sequins for the sake of adding sequins. All right, let's put the lid on that so it doesn't get grubby. So that's just a quick idea with the Sur-Round stamp set. So it's just using the main stamp twice with 3 different coloured inks. I then brought in a border stamp. a decorative stamp in black, and then we've stamped the layering circles from the same stamp set with the leaves, just to create that card. So you can see the depth there, or we could have left it flat like I did previously. If you didn't want to do the layering, you could have been just flat stuck on your card. You could have still done the stamped elements there and just had that flat on your card if it was going to go through the post and you didn't want to do the 3D, if that makes sense. So that's a first idea, using the stamp set. So I'm going to tidy up these bits and we'll gather all the other bits together and we'll create another quick idea. Right, let's have a go at doing another background, and I'm going to use Distress Oxides this time. So I've just got a few blending brushes and I'm starting off, this is the Twisted Citron, and I just want to create a quick background. Now, adding detail to the sides, you know, like inking the edges around the sides, I can do, you know, once I've got it sorted in my head. Let's pick up that there and let's not waste it. So we're just going to do that there. And then the next one is Peacock Feathers. Now, this is a really new ink pad, so that's why I'm knocking back a little bit of the colour, because I can always add more. I'm going to have to turn this around so I can do that better. Because I want to try and keep it circular-ish in the design. Let's pick up a little bit more and work out where I want to put that. So there we go. As I said, the Peacock Feathers is a new ink pad, so I'm just being a little bit more economical with it. Right, so as you can see, all I'm doing is just doing blended circles of Distress ink, and some of them will blend more than others because they're there. Right, and finally I just want to do a little bit of frayed burlap. And frayed burlap has that lovely warmth to it. So I was being a little bit economical with it, so I've just gone and put a little bit more. And because it's got a nice like yellow tone undertone, it'll go really well with the others I've picked. So it's just building up the background bit by bit. So I'm going to carry on doing this, and probably what I will do is fast forward. Right, okay, that's my background, and this is one of the stencils I also brought out for my launch. Now you don't need to use a stencil here, you could just spritz with water, but I just wanted to bring a little bit of depth, just spritzing some water through a stencil. I'm just going to let it sit for a bit and we'll then remove it. Let's just put the lid on that. And we'll just remove some of the ink. And we've got that background now there. Normally I would use this ink on something else, but we'll do, oh, I'm getting attacked by a piece of kitchen roll. We'll just clean that off now for just a bit of speed. So we've got that now going, as you can see, a little bit of a background detail going on there. And we need to let that dry before we do the next stage of stamping. Otherwise we're not going to, because I want to carry on stamping with oxide, otherwise we're not going to see the detail if this is still a little bit on the damp side. Right, so the background's dry and I just want to bring in some stamped elements, and I'm using the Sur-Round, but I'm going to stick to the circles this time rather than the big stamp. And I just want to stamp some of these up, and I'm going to use the Distress oxides that I used in the actual background making. And I'm not going for perfect images, so I'm using the Twisted Citron, and I'm just going over an area where that was, as it were, so it coordinates. So it's going to be an incredibly, I'm hoping the camera will pick it up. Well, it would help if I put it in the right place, wouldn't it? It's going to be a really subtle effect there, if you can see. Sorry if I've not put that in the right place. Let's try again, Louise. So it's going to give a really, really subtle, a little effect. Oh, excuse me. Just building up that layers and colour. So I've got another area there. And some will stand out a little bit more than others. I'll just put a bit more ink on there. And because we've got some of the faux bleaching, because where we did the water, it will stand out. So I'm just creating, like I said, using this stamp and the Twisted Citron, I'm just creating the starting of my background. Let's put you out the way. I'm just going to clean the stamp up quickly, because I might use it with another colour, I'm not sure, and just clean up for my blending mat a little. Right. And then I'm going to use a different size circle with the other colours. So this is the peacock feathers. And because this is a slightly darker colour, it will stand out just that little bit more. Also, it's a newer ink pad as well. So we've got a bit there. And a little bit there. Don't be afraid to go over where you've stamped with previous colours as well. And it's just creating a quick layered background. So I'm just going to clean that just in case I want to use another colour with it. And I just want to, oh, I've just noticed I've cleaned it and there's one in the middle there. That will bug me, so I will have to do it. Apologies. I don't know why, but that would bug me. Right, let's just clean you again. I'll wipe down my mat as well a bit. And then I've got another size of the circle. And this time I'm going to use the frayed burlap. And bring that in. So I'm just using it predominantly where the colour initially was. So we've got those there. I've got another little bit, just to do a little bit in that corner there. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Let's put the lid on. I'll just wipe that colour away. And so I'm just cleaning my mat again. So now we've got a little bit more of a funkier background going on. Right, there we go. So this time round I'm using the stamps to create a layered background, but quite a simple, easy layered background. Now I've got one of the other stamp sets from Sur-Round, and it is the dangle one. I couldn't think of a word, sorry there. So what I want to do is I just want to build up some extra detail using that. And I'm just going to pick different areas, and I'm using the frayed burlap to start with. And I'm just bringing in some different elements with it. So I'm just, because it's got circles in it, I'm just breaking up some of the circles. I'm not worried if I stamp lots of ink or I miss, you know, ink bits off. I just want a different sort of look with it. There we go. So we've got that going like that. So I'm just looking to see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to wipe that down. And we'll just move that there. And then I just want to bring in the smaller one of that we used before. And I'm going to use the peacock feathers. And I'm just going to go over some of that and just add in a little bit of the dot detail. And again, I'm not worried if the stamp isn't fully inked up, there's bits missing of it, because it helps give you that random look that you might be looking for with without the pressure. Right, so let's just do one more of those that side. But I'm going to add a few here as well. And as you can see there, so I'm going to add one more here, I think. Right, the lid on. Just going to clean those up. Okay, so as you can see, we've just built up very quickly our layered background using all of those. All right, I'm just going to give it a quick blast with a heat gun because I do need this now to be dry. We've got that there. Now, my plan is, let me just move my stencil, is I'm taking the Sur-Round stamp set, and as you can see, I'm working out where I'd like to, you know, actually use it in the design itself, because I want to cut elements and layer elements up in lots of different ways. So I'm trying to work out which part of the background. It's easier to make a full background than it is to make a partial background, because you can then find out where you want to do it. I'm going to see, I'm trying to work out whether I like the darker colours or the slightly lighter over here. I actually quite like the darker, so let's stick that down there. I'm just going to move my stamp blocks out of the way because I don't need them at the moment. And now this is where I've got a bubble here. It's really hard, you can see it. And what will happen is, with the bubble there, is when I put my ink down, it's going to catch on that part there, which means that's when you'll transfer an ink blob onto your image. So if we just roll that down flat, because we know it's in the right place, I won't have those raised parts on my stamp, which means I won't then catch it with my ink pad. Because even if they're raised higher than the actual stamp, it will still hit your background, even though you're using a stamp platform, as it were. Right, so let's use the black again. I'm using my small one only because it saves me looking for my larger one. And the larger one would have been a lot quicker, but hey ho. It means rummaging. Right, so let's just put this on here. I'm going to let this sit for a little while because there is a lot of ink it's got to go through, and the oxide and everything. Right, we'll just do one more for luck. So now, even though I've caught the ink inside there, it won't transfer onto my image because the whole stamp is flat on the actual lid there. So let that sit there. Right, okay, so that's the stamps. There we go. That's the Sur-Round all in one go. Now I want to use it a little bit differently, so we're just going to put that to one side, and I've got my actual card base here. I'm just going to sit down. It's a 7x5, as I said. I'm getting into the 7x5s. Right, I'm just taking a little bit of ink off it. The only reason I'm doing that is I want to place this onto my card, and I don't want to stain the card front just in case. So I'm trying to work out which way I would like it to be, and I'm going to go as if it's hanging from the top there a little bit and slightly off edge there. Right, there we go. And then I'm going to ink this in black directly onto the card front. And I've got a bubble there, so where I didn't put it down, so I'm just going to put that back down, because any ink I had where it was bubbling would show. And although I'm going to do a collage effect, just in case, I don't want to make it show too much. Okay, just do one more bit for good luck measure. As I said, I should have just got my larger ink pad out. It would have been a lot quicker, and I would have covered everything a little bit sooner, cleaner. I think I must stop using that tea towel. It's leaving fibres on my stamps as well. I think it needs a little bit of a birthday, but hey ho. Right, so that now is my card blank, and that's the Sur-Round all in one go. So I'm just going to put that to one side, tidy up, and I'll be back. Right, so what I've done is tidied up a few bits and pieces, and I'm going to take this one here that we've made our background. So this is our card blank. I'm just going to push that to one side, and we've got our background here, and I want to start chopping it down. So I want to take element parts of it and just chop it down and work out where, rather than chop it all, I'm just going to take element parts of it. So if I bring the card blank in, this part is going to sit just over that part there, as you can see, and then I'm working out where I'd like to do the next part. So I want to do, I think, these circles, so I'm just chopping away the excess regarding those circle bits. So let's keep you over here, and let's do the circles. So I've got the circle part going there. I will do this. I appreciate this is me now doing this as I go along, as you can see. And then I want to do, do you know what? I'm tempted to actually, sorry, I'm faffing. And I just want to do next, I want to do a tiny little bit off, maybe a little bit more than that. And put you over there, and that bit there. So let's just put you bits there. Right, so, and then I've got this smaller bit, I'll put it the right way around, just going there, because I didn't want too much of a gap between the two. So that's one of the ideas. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to collage these up and change them a little bit. Okay, however, I've got those are the three I want to use. I could stamp, let's put you there, the card blank again, and I've got these elements left over, so I could make exactly the same card again with the leftover bits. Let's put you, so that's on the edge of the card there, and that goes down that bit. and this one is there. Goes there. So actually, in essence, I could make 2 cards. I mean, I could chop this down even further, but I could make 2 cards with the same sort of technique at the end of the day. Right, so let's just put you to one side, because I will keep these, because these will make backgrounds for mosaic pieces. And we'll get these pieces on at the moment. And as you can see, they're going to go here. And I want them all roughly to be a similar sort of length. So there we go. So that's going to go there. Let's grab my glue. Oh, she says, if I can get it. That's it. I'll just spread the glue out. So, right, I'm going quiet. If you hear me go quiet, it's because I'm working out in my head where I want to. I'm trying to stick these down so they're straight, and I'm trying to do it so hopefully I've not put my head in the way. So if I stand up, I will probably not put my head in the way. Otherwise, I'll put my head smack bang across the video, which wouldn't be too cool. Right, there we go. So that's going to go there. Right, just going to take the glue off my fingers. Just going to use my cloth just to push it down. Because, there we go, that will do there. So we've got that. And then I've got this one here. Can you see where I was cleaning my brushes off? I never not use a piece of card. So this is where I was cleaning my brushes off. Now, the only thing I might do here is trim this down. We'll leave it for the moment and see. So that one's going to go there. That one's going to go there. And put you in place a bit more. And need to move you up just a fraction. There we go. Just make sure the glue goes right to the edge. And then we've got this one here. Which is just going to sit there. And just lining it up. One of the, when you get stamps that have got those straight lines that you can visualize, they can be very helpful, but they can also make you a little bit obsessed with getting it exactly as it should be. Right, so I've got that sitting there like that. Let's just grab my cloth. So as you can see, I've got that sitting there with the design. Now what I want to do with actually the pieces that I've got left over is I want to use them, so they're going to go and sit back inside. But I've cut myself a piece of cream cardstock because I actually want to put them on cream before I cut them into place. Right, I've cut them out, let them dry, cut them out, and I'm going to actually raise them with foam pads. Now, if you have foam tape roll, it would be a darn sight quicker than what I'm doing here. But I'm going to be honest, as I said before, I want to use these up. I ordered the wrong size. They're too diddy. And now I have got more sheets than I know what to do with. So I have got to use them. Right, so let's get this done. I just want to grab, not those ones. I'm just going to grab a pair of tweezers to see if I can speed up a little bit getting the backs off. as I'm taking forever with my... Right, so this now is going to sit here. Right, I apologise now if I do get my head in the way, because this is now on 3D foam pads. Just want to make sure that I'm lining up the straight lines. So if I turn it sideways, that's probably going to be a little bit easier. And I want to make sure that I'm lining up the straight lines more than anything else at the moment. That looks good. Right, there we go. And then I've got this small one here. And sorry, I'm going to use the foam pads again. But what I'll do is I'll do this and I'll edit it. Okay, I've edited it so you didn't need to see me go through the pain of getting them all off. Well, and you didn't have to really either. Right, I'm just going to flip this round. And again, all I'm doing is I'm just wanting to line up the straight parts of it before I push it down in place. There we go. And I just want to pick up some of the glue that's there still. There we go. So now I've got my design all layered up that way, and I'm going to trim off the excess parts now from the top here. Obviously, if you want to keep your card blank cleaner than I have, work on a cleaner surface would probably be a better idea. I must put these back on these tweezers because they're very sharp. So we've now got that going on like that, and that's created our background and coloured it in a totally different way. So I'm just going to grab in my bit box, because that one there that we did before could sit perfectly on it and it works. But I have got some other ones that are coloured in. As you can see, that I could now layer up again. As you can see, look, I got a bit carried away and thought, right, I'll cut a few things out. Now, on other stamp sets, we have got things like the butterflies that could easily go on there as well. And I'm just going, oh, I've got so many bits here. And we've got some flower designs that could easily add to it. Now, what I want to do before I add any other decoration is I'm just going to actually go and pick a sentiment. And I'm going for some of the larger ones for the moment, and then I'm going to have a look at some of the smaller ones that we can do. That one I like, and that one, and let's go for that one. Okay, so they're going to go there. So now what I've got is I've got some different, so I've got that I can put it here. So we've got small steps, big moments. Our friendship soothes my soul. So I would go around the edges of this here so it fitted in a little bit more. And that can sit across the top there. Or we could use one of these ones here, which is do what makes your soul shine. So we've got lots of different ways of using it. I actually think the bigger sentiments in this sign would look better, and I quite like our friendship soothes my soul. So I'm just going to trim around the edges of that border. In fact, I fib. I'm just going to use a border punch, not a corner punch. Right, so we've got, that's going to go there, and I'm just going to add a few foam pads in the centre here. You know, it's famine or feast with me and foam pads. At least I'm getting rid of them, I suppose. Oh, that one hasn't stuck down. Right, so as you can see, we've got that there, and we've got our friendship soothes my soul. And this is then where we've obviously got dies from the collection as well, but these are also in the Sur-Round stamp set, and you can then start to add little other elements in there. I've got ones that look like little hearts, and this is where now as I said to you before, this is my favorite part. This is my faff part, and where I then start having a little bit of fun doing different things. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably bring in some of the little floral elements that we've got, and I'm going to keep them the colour. So let's just grab a few of those. Now these are from some of the other stamp sets that as you can see, this is my bit box, and I stamped and cut up loads of little bits and pieces. And I have to thank now Julian McNeil for my obsession now with a bit box. Julian McNeil is from JMC Designs. So we've got a few here. So as you can see, I'm just bringing in a few little bits, and just one or two. And I've got a butterfly there. Well, I might not use that. So let's just tip everything over. And what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit more. I'm playing around with all the different shapes we get to see if I need to add a little bit of colour, or I leave them white. And I think I'm going to leave them white and build them up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add these bits on, but I will probably fast forward while I take things back and forth, rather than you listen to me waffle, as it were. Right, as you can see, I've finished. I've kept the actual other stamp designs as black and white, so they all work together. The flower is from Gather Together, and the leaf and this flower is from Pattern Parade. So you can see all the smaller elements layered together. So the longest part about this was making the background just using your oxides. Now, you didn't need to, if you didn't want to, stamp the actual circles that I've done and add the extra detail in. You could have just left it as that background and stamped just that stamp by itself and cut it up like the way I've done. You did, so if you could take it back and make it even easier. And then that is, now a total contrast to the one we made earlier. So it's the same stamp, but just by changing the colours, we've got a totally different look to it. But it looks like we've done a lot of background stamping, but actually the main part of it is just the one stamp. I'm just going to quickly tidy up. I'm going to grab together some other ideas to share with you using this stamp set. Right, to just share some simple other card ideas. These are the two that we've made in the video today. And we've kept the backgrounds quite simple matte and layering. We could add some more detail to them. I've just added in a few sequins because obviously that's what I like. And then what I've done on this card here, if I pull it down a little bit, I've just added a few pearls in the center of the flowers, but I've kept them to match the colors I've got in there. But this to give you some other ideas. Now, what I've done with this one is this is just the same stamp, and I've stamped it onto a piece of circular card, and using the stencil and some of the other stamped images, I've actually just used it to be as the stamp was designed, which was to make it look like there was a greater border there than there was. And then for this one here, I've tied it up with the dies that we've got from the collection. And all I've done is just stamped in black that portion of the same stamp, and just added in, like I said, from the dies, one or two of the leaves, and then from the butterfly, from the painted mixings with a simple sentiment. And then finally, using exactly the same stamp set, I've just stamped the main background. Again, I've done the matting and layering with the circles, and I've added a little bit of stenciling on it and a couple of butterflies. And again, it looks completely different. So each card now, depending, on how much you stamp and what other embellishments you add from the Shady Designs collection, can change the actual feel of the card that you're doing. So I'm hoping now that gives you lots of different ways that you can actually use the stamp set to create quick, simple cards that look like you've done a lot more stamping than you actually have. And that was the whole ethos behind it, was that you could create the layered look with a minimum amount of effort. I will take some photographs of all the different projects I have made, not just these ones. I've done art journal pages as well, and I will add them to a blog post, and I'll link to everything down below in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel, hit the like, leave a comment, and even hit the notification buttons. YouTube works on comments and likes actually more than subscriptions, which does seem a little bit bizarre. But anyhow, enough of that waffle. Thank you ever so much for your company, and watch this space, as there are a few more videos showcasing the different designs as we go along. Thank you. Bye-bye.